Greetings, folks. This is DC Investing. I've reached financial independence, and I'm talking about topics that may help others on their journey to financial independence. And today I had kind of a fun thing to discuss, and the item is mysterious promptings, which I think is kind of fun. So, kind of as the background from this, there's several finance influencers that I follow on YouTube over the past while, and some of them have made moves. They've moved from one state to another, and most of the reasons for these guys is financial in nature, but some of them just don't like the policies of certain states. And there's a couple of them that have moved out of California. Over the last while, Graham Stephan is a pretty famous influencer. He moved from California to Nevada, primarily just for the tax reasons, because the state tax in California is horrendous, and Nevada has no state tax. And so just by moving, because he does so much online stuff, he got like a 15% raise from moving his operations, his base of operations, out of California into Nevada. Um, then you have someone like Elon Musk, who moved his whole company out of California into Texas for the sake of partially just the tax reasons, but also, he could have done his whole SpaceX thing in California, but instead, because regulations are so stringent in California, it's much better to be in Texas for that sort of a thing. I got a guy named Johnny Bravo who I listen to. He's kind of fun. He's always, it's the end of the world with him all the time. But he lived in California. He moved to Texas, partially, I'm sure, from financial reasons, but otherwise he just, hated the policies of California. So he's out of there. There's another one. I can't remember his name, but it might be Jeremiah or something like that. And he's another guy who talks about the economy. He moved just recently from California to Tennessee, primarily because of the crazy policies that California has. And so, it's interesting watching the folks just from mostly a pure, financial perspective, but also, policies that are, anti-business, anti-family will have an influence on your finances over the many years. So, it's definitely something to think about. But today I kind of wanted to talk about another fun subject, and I'd love to hear your comments on this one below. And kind of where this stems from is I have an architect friend who lived in my neighborhood here. I used him for a project. He moved kind of to a small town in Utah, more of the deserty area, and then recently we'd been there for a number of years, and then recently my wife found a Facebook post that found that they had moved to Missouri. And so I was like, "What, Missouri, huh?" And I have a sister out there too, so I was really curious, and I had a very particular question that I wanted to ask him. And kind of the background from this, my sister, who is there, has said that there's a lot of folks that have moved into her area in Missouri for mysterious prompting reasons. And so I called my friend up and I said, "So you're in Missouri now, huh?" And I said, the reason why you're there, does it have something to do with a mysterious prompting?" And he said, "What? Why'd you ask?" Because yeah, we're not sure why we're here, but we just felt prompted that this is where we should be. And so I'm from a religious community, and we believe in things that are outside of our influence, a higher power or whatever, and that there can be kind of messages from the other side to us. And it was confirmed. Here he is. He's an architect. All of his work is still in Utah. He's telecommuting through Starlink, that allows him to be able to do that. But yeah, his family, they felt like they were kind of prompted to move, pick up where they went to, and they moved to Missouri, and they now own 100 acres. 2/3 of it is woodland. They have a nice house on it. They're not really sure why they were there. My son has a young friend. He's early 20s, works for the railroad, has a house in Texas, and he felt prompted for some reason also to move to Missouri. They're buying a house there. He's going to try to rent out the one that he has in Texas. He does have kind of a base of operations somewhere near Missouri for the railroad, but again, he was like, "We just feel like we should move to Missouri." And so back to my sister, she lives in kind of southern Missouri, goes to a local congregation there, and she said our congregation has more than doubled in size over the past 5 years, and so many folks that are coming out here, they're like, we don't know why we're here. We just feel prompted that this is where we need to come. So I think that is so interesting. And I personally, my wife and I do not have promptings to pick up and move to rural America. But, I'm kind of curious, what are you guys out there in the community? What are you seeing? There's certainly some financial rifts that are going on between different states. Some place like California, maybe New York, are really high state tax states, and it's very financially beneficial to pick up roots and move to a low tax state. But there's also a lot of crazy policies that are certainly coming from California. They're really far on the leftist side, and a lot of those policies are oppressive to both businesses, but also raising a family. It's kind of craziness from my perspective. But anyhow, do you have friends and families that are really seriously thinking about picking up and moving from a city space to something more agrarian out there? I'd just really be curious. I mean, it's definitely a finance decision. It'll impact the earnings that you make, how you live. But for the safety, long-term safety of family, um, we don't know, is there a world war coming? We don't know, is there civil unrest happening? Civil unrest by and large occurs in the more populated areas of the country, the dense cities. Um, do folks feel like they're getting prompted to pick up and move? I'd be really curious what you guys that are subscribers that come across this video feel. So I've definitely seen that in some of the folks that I have interacted with, there are people that are getting prompted to pick up and move to much more rural areas in the middle of America, away from the big cities or the crazy states. Uh, I'm just curious, what do you guys see? Um, Comment below, and maybe I'll reconsider, looking more for promptings that I should pick up and move out of my city out to someplace further away. So it's kind of a fun topic today. Definitely, a big move will impact your finances, um, maybe for the good, maybe for the bad, but you know, it's something fun to talk about. So thanks a bunch. We'll see you. Bye.